Welcome to the War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com/Zoom.
Hello everybody, it's 5 o'clock at the 911 War Room on May 29th, 2022. Wasn't here last week, and I did get to listen this morning to the call from last week. Thank you, Sandra, for fielding that. Did a great job. Couple little things after listening to that. One, whoever snored, that was so rude. I don't know who that was, but that was way out of line. And yeah, I just want to say, anybody's coming in here trying to play devil's advocate against World Trade Center 7, I'm done with that too. There's no doubt that you just can't have a free fall of a building and it not be a controlled demolition. And trying to talk around it is just disingenuous. But let's start off with the news. Hey, Cayle, aloha.
Aloha.
Susan,
And totally agree with that, brother.
But I did hear, I mean, there were some great points. I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, let me hold off on that. Let's start off with new news. So with new news, there was a lot, and I'm going to skip a little bit into last week too, because there was just a lot of things happened. One, there's a 911 beam that's going to be taking a route through this area for Madera, California, and they're just changing the route that the beam's going to travel. But I found it more interesting that the beam will also be available for viewing at several local events. So it's a beam from one of the World Trade Centers is just taking a tour. So if anybody knows any of those areas, if you're on those locations in California, that'll be there.
Is there an opening act, or is that like the main show?
This one would be the main show, I guess.
I'm kind of just being sarcastic a little bit.
Oh, right.
Like, it just seems kind of weird to take a beam on a tour.
Right.
But
Remember too, when they want to push more war, they have to stir up those emotions again.
Yes,
right.
That's a good point. Thank you. President Biden's 9/11 will be this moment. Again, this doesn't have to do anything with 9/11. I just like to call out the headlines that like to piggyback, as Sandra said, on 9/11. They just want to, as Cayle just said there too, they just like to elicit those emotions. So that's really all you need to say about that one. Another memorial in Mountain Home Fire Department. They're coming up with a new design for a Mountain Home, Arkansas, a new memorial for 9/11, and that'll be displayed at the Veterans Memorial. I forgot when they said. I guess it would be Memorial Day. Another memorial, Gold Star Family's dedication, May 28th. That happened yesterday. Several service members that lost their lives from this hometown, and again, they just had a small memorial. I quickly tried to do this morning, so couldn't find out where exactly this was because there's no article here. Wherever the alliance is from. This one's an interesting article. Cancers of the uterus finally headed to the list of 9/11 illnesses, a boon to female first responders, downtown New York City residents. For 2 decades, cancers of the uterus are expected to be added to the list of 9/11 related health conditions, bringing a measure of equality to the women who breathed the toxic soup that hung over Ground Zero. So that's good there.
All that asbestos had to go somewhere.
All right. I can't even imagine the untold health issues that we're not even addressing. Anybody that was down in Lower Manhattan. Excuse me. Threats mentioning 9/11 attacks made against Singapore by Indonesian preacher supporters. I think I got this and I didn't read this article. Forgive me, because some of these I was just trying to do a quick recap. Threats mentioning the 9/11 attacks have been made against Singapore by supporters of a preacher who was barred from entering the country.
Huh.
Interesting. Wow. So you're not even allowed to mention 9/11 attacks. That's troubling. MSU student project reflects on 9/11's impact on the media. That's kind of interesting. I would really like to see this flushed out in a deep way, because I think we in this room all understand that the media was manipulated after 9/11, even during 9/11, but they try to do a little reflection on it. And I found this part of the article interesting. Quote, one of the important lessons drawn from studying the last 20 years was how commonplace it is to encounter stereotypes about Muslims and Arabs in film and media. In fact, looking at the long history of Hollywood, the class studied how Middle East has been repeatedly shown in negative terms. The class considered how such stereotyping created public support for the wars and enabled hate crimes against Muslims after 9/11. I think we all agree on that one. They really did. Muslims and Arabs did take a lot of heat for something that they weren't primary in the orchestration of it, we could say. If anybody wants to reflect on any of these, please interrupt me.
Can I add to that?
Please.
With today's current event, Asians are being targeted as well.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that now. I didn't realize that was quite as bad as it is, but there's a lot of memes coming up about that. Yeah, thank you, Cayle. A bridge to honor a 9/11 trooper, Brian's Falb, could come to Plattsburgh. So basically, I read down in here. In March 2017, Falb succumbed to brain cancer directly related to his service after 9/11 at the World Trade Center. So again, more of these cancers. God bless him and his family. Rest in peace. This is somebody's making it a political issue. Prosecutors say Trump ally Thomas Barack altered the 2016 Republican platform to shroud ties of 9/11 hijackers to the Saudis, because Trump had initially showed support in getting the 28 pages released and was making it part of the platform. And basically reading, this is my summary, that this guy thought that was too much of a risk to do, so they kind of backed off on it. All right. This is ridiculous. This one I didn't want to mention it, but I have to. This is where they try to make us look crazy. I don't even want you to see the headline until I'm ready to say it. It's just so stupid. Time traveler from 2038 might have caused the 9/11 conspiracy theorist claims.
Oh my God.
Conspiracy theorist Ty Knotts believes that time traveler from the year 2038 went back in time to trigger September 11th attacks as part of a secret government mission. I'm like, are you kidding me? Just reading some of this shows you where they're coming at. The September 11th attacks have long become the subject of outlandish conspiracy theories, with people blaming everything from George Bush to controlled demolitions of the towers. Like, oh, this is a hit piece from the freaking Daily Star. Unbelievable. The levels
Guilt
they'll
by
go to.
association.
Just, yeah, that's it. Just absolutely atrocious as they'd put something like that out. That's all I want to spend on that one. Lexington alumni hope to preserve a 9/11 mural for future generations. I guess a 12th grader at this school made this mural. You can kind of see the towers 1 and 2. And he's just wanting the mural to stay for future groups coming through the school. I hope he gets
Nice.
that. That is pretty cool.
I think Cayle has his hand up. I don't know if he wanted to weigh in on a previous story.
Sorry, that was the other. Sorry.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
Just interrupt. When I'm doing the news part, just interrupt. I forget what the RHOC stands for. Alumni Kelly Dodd slammed for comparing Texas school shooting to 9/11. I love the quote because it was in a meme that I used. And the quote was, after 9/11, we didn't ban planes. We secured cockpits, secure the schools. Read a message on, Real Housewives of Orange County Twitter account, I guess. Yeah, I didn't know this, but pilots now have guns in the cockpit. That kind of surprised me because I always thought, from what we all knew as kids, that if a puncture hole happens in a plane, that we get sucked out through that hole. I don't know, but evidently that's not quite so accurate.
Well, maybe it's just worth the risk. Maybe they figure if they're properly trained and they have a gun,
Right.
they're better off trying to take out a hijacker than, and hopefully not hit like a window that's going to suck him out.
But then again, now that I'm just thinking about that,
Guys.
air marshals are armed.
Guys,
Yeah, go ahead.
don't forget to the Hawaiian Airlines that flew, I think it was flying into Honolulu. It turned into a convertible. And one of the stewardess was sucked out, but the plane had no roof, almost half of the plane, but it flew its way back to the airport safely.
Oh, wow.
It had no ceiling or roof or whatever. It blew off. But the
It must
plane
have
flew
been
home
really
or
low.
back.
Yeah, if you're at 35,000 feet, that's going to be
Yeah.
a whole different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the height, but that did happen though.
All right. Governor Ducey signs a 9/11 education bill, basically saying that this school in Arizona will be taught the history of 9/11. We're not sure what kind of history they're going to be taught about 9/11, but they will be taught about 9/11. I had mixed feelings as I read this because as long as students, I think, are thinking about 9/11, it gives an opportunity for them to consider alternatives. Or if they hear one of the 9/11 truth movement coming to them and saying, hey, have you considered this alternative theory? They'd be easier to approach. So as long as they keep the story of 9/11 alive, I think that's a better bridge than not teaching them about 9/11 at all, even though it's probably going to be brainwashed. Almost done with the news items. Let's see what we got here. Oh, this one. So there's been a video been running around lately. No planes are visible in footage of the 9/11 attack. It wasn't even in this article. Perhaps some of you saw it. There's the text basically says no one would expect, I can't even read it here. No one would expect them to record months later, or truthers to release videos months later. But it was a scrubbed video. There's a picture from off in the distance, and there's no plane when you see World Trade Center 2 explode. And I knew from the beginning that was a fake video, but I couldn't prove it, and I didn't find a source. But evidently this PolitiFact, which I'm not too sure about, just flushed it out and said, no, we have plenty of photographs and videos all showing the aircraft striking World Trade Center 2. So this one video that was released recently in the last few weeks is doctored. So if you guys see it, just let them know it's fake. I think we're down to the last one. So a Roman guy, vicar, shared articles suggesting Israel was behind 9/11, and he's getting brutally attacked for bringing up that topic. It's really interesting that he's part of the Roman Catholic Church, but once again, somebody says, hey, you should consider that quote unquote Israel was behind this, because I'm not blaming the Israeli people. A rogue portion of their intelligence agencies, in my opinion, were behind that as well. So I think I'm going to try to reach out to this guy and email him and show him, give him some support.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. Oh, yeah, this was just another video of CNN also had a video of the plane coming in. Not that CNN's anything special, but Where is it? Come on, there it is. So, all right, and that's all I had for the new corporate media news. Anybody have anything that they know of?
I just have a question. The thing about the fake video, are we talking about the one that came up like a couple of months ago? Kevin, whatever his name was?
No. Let's see if I can find it real quick. No plane. World Trade Center. It is. I'll know it as soon as I see it. No.
That's okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
I
No,
didn't. I thought that they were saying that that was doctored and that there
No.
was actually no plane.
I have seen a couple videos about that one, and there's this one might be it. Yeah, this is it. Watch, you'll just see the explosion and no plane. See that? Oh, wait, go back. No plane, no plane, no plane, explosion. Somebody altered this video and scrubbed out the plane. That's all.
Mhm.
So if you see this, people posting and saying, see, there's no planes. Say it's been researched and found that that's been scrubbed. Although I would like to find a source on where the scrubbed video first came from.
Right.
The one I've been hearing about Kevin, there has been some chatter about Kevin Wesley, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to say, oh, you see the plane change angle. When the person rotates their camera, it does some kind of weird thing. That's only because he's changing the angle of the video from in a wide angle lens. So it's shown to be dramatic, but there was a banking turn, which I've heard pilots discuss it and say this banking couldn't have been done by a human. They wouldn't have been able, they would have missed the building by 100 feet either way. That had to have been some type of remote control or computer aided device that was able to precisely get that plane to bank exactly what it needed to do to make contact with the building. I don't know, it's over my... Somebody say something?
Lorenzo said concur.
Right on. Oh yeah, Lorenzo and his affirmations throwing everybody off. Yeah, that was. I'm glad that Ray did say no. It's because I'm getting distracted. That was understood. Right on. All right, I'll open it up. Anybody else? Anything new? Let me stop sharing. Oh, I am stop sharing.
I'm just gonna throw in there at Cayle. This is just a personal thing that I don't know if you can see these. I made the earrings out of your little sevens.
Oh my God, how cool.
And
Wait.
My
then
wife just like,
Whoops, wrong one.
my wife talking about making dangly type earrings, but we couldn't figure out how.
yeah,
Let's
I
see.
made them. And then I made myself a necklace. Nice.
Let me see the necklace or the earrings again.
Honey, look at the earrings.
All right.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that, Cayle.
You're welcome. We got some new filaments too. Look, all these different colors. I don't know.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And they're
Right on.
like kind of shiny. But yeah, you guys inspired us. So and more, I will send more your way.
I can do something with anything you send.
Yeah, you're a jeweler, right? Like you can make jewelry. Like you make jewelry. Is it metal?
Right.
Or
No, I'm just equipped with everything to do it.
awesome.
But then that leaves out because I don't think that Jean wants to wear earrings, so we're
Mm.
gonna have to come up with something else.
We can find some for his shiny, beautiful head.
Right. It's not shiny right now, but ooh, let me grab my notes.
There you go.
Oh, you can do something else for guys.
All right.
Honey, look at her earring.
I do want to make, after listening to you guys last week, some great conversation there. I agree that we don't want to get pulled back into the weeds of evidence that as a war room, it's that time. Let's take a moment here to pray real quick. Thank you for fielding that, Sandra, last week. Lord, we just come to you right now. I thank you so much for these bright spirits. I thank you so much for the encouragement that they have to keep going with this, that you would help us to give us strength and clarity in mind on what we should be doing, or give us the wisdom to be able to pursue justice for 9/11. You would have a hedge of protection around us, the Lawyers Committee, Richard, and anyone involved in this, or that you would expose those who are not authentic, Lord, that they would just show themselves to be the troublemakers that they are, that we could know for sure. But more importantly, that we could get justice for 9/11. I just thank you for this opportunity in this show. In your name, amen. Thank you. So as far as what a war room typically is they show where the current battles are being fought and where the strategy should be. So in that regard, I really want to stress that our front lines are where the legal battles are. And if I can share my screen again. I made this list up in November of 2021, and it really needs updated. But the grand jury litigation in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, I think that would be the lead battle. That's where the big battle is happening right now. We don't have an answer on where it's at right now. I'm sorry, Myles, did you have something to say before I get into this?
No, go ahead, carry on and just come back to me when you're ready.
10-4, thank you. I want to try to shrink this screen down. And we click on it. Nope. Nope. Is it this one? There we go. We don't have an answer from Mick yet where it's at. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals is still making their decision. And we're not fighting over the 60 exhibits for the controlled demolition of 1, 2, and 7 right now. What we're fighting for is our right to even present the evidence to a grand jury, which is preposterous that they're fighting us against it. That's our First Amendment right. It's surreal. I don't have these. I want to skip out of order because I think the other two most important ones would be AE's lawsuit with NIST that's going on right now, and David Coole's FOIA that has now been granted discovery of World Trade Center 7. I think those are the three. If you were looking at a war for us in the 9/11 Truth Movement, that is where the big battles are being fought right now. And then we do have all these other ones: anthrax, grand jury, petition to Congress in DC. I don't know what happened with the 89-element truth in their petition. This is the petition that everybody signs when everyone says, oh, sign AE's petition. I don't know where that's gone. It kind of just floated off into the ether. Nobody in Congress has stepped up. Even the Bobby McIlvaine World Trade Center 7. It floors me that I could send postcards to 537 members of Congress and not one person did anything about it by saying that there was explosive residue found in all samples of the dust that they took. How can they sit on that and not do something about it? They obviously had to have been told you can't touch this subject. So somebody higher than our Congress is telling Congress you can't go there. Al, you got something to say?
Yeah, is that something you can email out? I'd love to have that
Sure.
posted on our website.
I do have to update it, but yeah, I'll get that. Al, Cayle,
I'd like a copy too, please.
Sandra, Myles. Oh, what's your phone? What's your email address, Myles?
Myles
just
Flaig
mine.
at gmail.com, I think.
Yeah, no,
Myles, no
all
period.
one word, no periods.
Myles, FLAIG@gmail.com. All right. Myles, Al, Susan, Ross. I love it that I have all you guys right here. Trina, Mike. I got Zarzano in here. Czar.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
there he is. I got him. Charlotte County Congress at Gmail. And Sean.
And Lorenzo.
Oh, yep. Sean Nagel and Lawrence. Got you all. There you go. Send. Let's see what else. Yeah, the Bobby McIlvaine World Trade Center Investigation Act. It's not even on AE's site anymore. But not one congressman stood up out of the 535, 37 at the time, whatever they had then. Not one person stood up. It just floors me. We already talked about the request for correction. This one, number 7, ended up getting rejected. It's AE 9/11 Truth and the Lawyers Committee, the FBI lawsuit. That was rejected, but Sandra and I are now, oh, it's been filed. Mick has filed a FOIA for the 100 videos within 1 mile of the Pentagon. That's now filed in DC to get those videos and all kinds of other stuff. The way that Mick worded this was just artful. He is truly an amazing gentleman. So anything within 1 mile, and he wasn't even going on the ground. He's like in the air, satellite. He's just like photos, videos, anything. We want it. Jeff Campbell, I don't have any update on where Jeff Campbell is with the inquest in the UK. I don't think Ed's on here, and none of the Brood boys are here, so we don't know about the military trial of Gitmo 5 and Guantanamo and Motley Rice and Kreindler and Kreindler. I mean, this is where, if you're in a war room, then I live in a war room, and there were legal battles, that is where the bloodbath is happening. That is the fight. That is it. So listening to everybody last week talking about, you know, what the focus should be and where we should go and how can we get one microphone in the 9/11 Truth movement. I don't really know if that's so much our job here in the war room, as we're just reporting where the battles are. And perhaps maybe I'm talking a little bit, I'm kind of thinking out loud. We do want to strategize too, as worker bees that we are on the ground. How do we supplement these great battles going on? Cayle?
Yep. Speaking of Congress, have you guys reached out to Cynthia McKinney, or is she thrown in the towel? Because I know she had to leave the country at one point, and then I think she came back. But for Congresswoman, she was on point with 9/11.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she saw his poll or anything like that, but you know.
I have not reached out to her. I should. If anybody wants to respond to Cayle, just go right ahead. Otherwise, like
If
Mike
I may, this is Mike.
Yeah, I figured that's
Florida.
why.
Yeah. Yeah, Cynthia is very active vocally. She's certainly not giving up the fight, but
Yeah.
you know, her voice is very limited. Her power is very limited. You saw what they did to her when she was in Congress, and she's a fearless fighter. She pulls no punches when it comes to Israel and the Zionist movement that removed her from Congress. And
Agreed.
we need to defend people like her. We need to be allied with people like her. And I think our greatest chances in the future with any action is going to be a crowdsourced movement within the courts demanding a grand jury, on top of what's already been done with the Lawyers Committee. So I yield. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then can I add with the group here, because I remember when we're talking about microphones and 9/11 truth movements, whatever. What you and Sandra are doing, just like say Richard and Cayle, we're trying to keep unity as well. Yeah, so we feel comfortable in interacting with you guys on 9/11 like we would Richard or Cayle or anybody else, versus it needs to be this way and said this way and think this way. You know, unity is a key, and I think this group has been helping with that.
Yep.
For some.
They were trying. Although I've uninvited Adam Fitzgerald and Darren Harvey for ever being part of this conversation anymore.
Yeah, you got to have some limits. I mean, you can't just have anybody coming into your house and throwing
Right.
crap everywhere.
And I heard Morgan, and I appreciate that was probably the most articulate I've ever heard Morgan. No, I don't mean to down him, but he said it really well. But then he contradicted himself and saying, you know, we need to be more inclusive, but then we just can't let anyone say anything because we don't want to censor people. That's kind of like it's saying two different things there. You can't really be all inclusive and then not, and then try to let the clamps on. But it is a difficult, and I heard you all talking about the difficulty in walking that tightrope. It is, we don't want to call out trolls because we can't say definitively who the trolls are. We don't know who the trolls are.
Okay, can I add, you know, when we discuss things about 9/11, whether it's something way out there in someone's head or not, but when we start talking about like Bigfoot or I don't know, flat earth or something, I don't know, other debates out there, then yeah, I get that. You know what I mean? But like if we're debating within 9/11, we're still keeping it within 9/11, you know, like
Right.
planes, no planes, Pentagon, whatever. We're not saying Godzilla came in and
Right.
shot a hole through the Pentagon, you know, like that.
But do we immediately eliminate CGI, hologram, directed energy weapons people from?
I wouldn't because, you know, we're learning.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think it's so much about the subject itself, about what, you know, about the specific angle. I think it's about having a civil discussion. I would rather have a civil discussion with a CGIer than I would have these antagonistic kind of, you know, just attacks that happen with people who claim to have the truth on certain things and can't hear anybody else out.
Mm-hmm.
If we can have a discussion, give me the best version of what you have, and I'll give you the best of mine. Let's hash it out. I'm willing to talk to anyone. But when it can't be done civilly, then I don't even want a discussion about probable things because it just derails everything.
Without a doubt, we don't want, like, the behavior seen in that email chain that some of you saw. That is unacceptable. And I even gave Adam Fitzgerald way more leash than he should have even had because he was just brutally rude to Barbara there. But I really tried, really tried, but they're completely ridiculous. But then they have a point though. After 20 some years, we should have had these items hashed out. But when they go after Richard Gage and say he's allowing these fringe conspiracy theorists a platform, like at the Pentagon conference, in my opinion, Richard is finally trying to formally address the issue. And now it's almost like we're going through it a first time. And that's what Richard was trying to do there. So to throw Richard under the bus and say he's giving them a mouthpiece, a soapbox, and that he's wrong for that, I think they're jumping the gun and they're not saying that properly. Al, you got something, brother?
Yeah, I just want to say, I see Ed isn't here, and I hate talking when he isn't here, but my reaction was, why is he here? Because I've never heard anything positive, you know, for the 9/11 truth movement. It's always, and he's a very intelligent, informed guy, and he critiques a lot of things. But I honestly feel like, you know, the whole group of those guys are really out to, you know, I mean, it just is very depressing to me. I really don't like listening to it. Maybe that's my problem. But on the other hand, you know, you have to stop and ask, you know, like Adam and Darwin and I would even go so far as to say, Ed, well, why are you here if you feel so strongly that, you know, the 9/11 truth movement is dead, it's in the wrong direction, and he couldn't even, you know, I was totally surprised that he, you know, said that nanothermite was there were questions that, weren't necessarily
Hmm.
relevant, and the fact
Oh,
that
there we
there
go.
were 7, was, I mean, if you don't agree on that, then I don't know why any of us are here.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's how I feel about it.
I did
Totally
hear Ed say
Yeah.
when you guys were talking about, I wish we had people here that actually subscribe to the official theory, and Ed jumped in and says, well, I would probably be the closest to that, which I found an odd statement to say.
Exactly.
It is what they get accused of, this is the main argument against them. It's often repeated, which is that everything that they stand for basically endorses the official theory.
Right.
So I guess that's why he made that comment.
And and they know this because I've told them I'm not going to say anything that I wouldn't say to their face. Like, I now have coined a term for those guys, the rude boys, because they're completely rude. There's no reason you should talk so horribly about another human being, no matter whether you disagree with them or not. And I've stooped to that level too, and I apologize and try to do a better job, although I might fail at that every once in a while.
You did
Who are
not
the-
stoop anywhere close to that level.
Who's the Root Boys?
That would be that I've coined Adam Fitzgerald, Nelson Martins,
Oh, okay.
Darren Harvey, Sean Russell, and Ed Brotherton. And Ed is like and I'll say this to Ed too. There's been question on Ed he's part of that group, which, by the way,
Do they label themselves that, or
no, I did. And
Oh,
I told them,
okay.
and I told them that.
Like the Rat Pack. Okay, got it.
This is
What
also
about Lawrence?
fine. Lawrence is cool. Lawrence is in there.
He was being a little disruptive last time.
He's
Remember
right there on
that,
the couch.
Sandra?
He's right there on the couch. No, it was because he was agreeing. I said this before you weren't in the call yet today. He was concurring with Ray, and Ray, it was distracting Ray. But
Yeah.
one other point I want to make about them is I followed them in Twitter as well. And oddly enough, the thread that I was following them in, Eddie Current, if any of you are familiar with Eddie Current, he's a very famous troll in the 9/11 movie back in the day. He's the one that made the World Trade Center 7 video that showed explosions and sounds, and he added like a UFO later and said, oh, they fell from my 9/11 hoax video. He was in that thread, and Mick West was in the thread. I'm like, oh, these guys are rubbing elbows with Eddie Current and Mick West. Like, that told me a lot. I'm just like, oh, these guys are,
They're trolls.
yeah, that's
Nick West is the worst. One
Yeah.
of the worst.
we all know Mick West. So
Oh, yeah.
you can't say guilty by association, but it sure is compelling. Anyways, Al, you got anything more before I go to Mike?
No, I can't lower my hand for some reason. I don't know why.
I gotcha. Mikey Porazzo.
Yeah, so Chris Joya is going to be coming this coming Friday to come visit me for a couple of days. Is there any reason I should try and get him on here?
Yeah, I'd love to hear him.
If anybody has any
Okay.
questions for me, yeah, it'd be nice to have him pop in every once in a while just to say hey.
Okay.
I'd like to know what he's doing, as far as 9/11 is concerned.
He doesn't have to feel compelled to
Who
stay
do
the
you
whole
have
show.
with you, Mike?
Chris
I'm
Joya.
sorry.
Chris Joy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have to feel compelled to stay the whole show. If he just wants to pop in for 10 minutes, that would be great. Just to,
Yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to know, I'd like to hear what kind of blowback you might have been getting from the fire department and or
Exactly.
support,
Yeah.
or support, you might have been getting more support. I'd like to know how that might have fleshed out for him.
Yeah, and he might like to be filled in on the NFPA upcoming conference to see what's going on there, because I don't think he's really in the loop.
good segue to Al. You any updates on that?
Well, time is ticking. We've been going back and forth on the banner for the booth, and as you know, Gene, Eric Lawyer has got his own guy now. I kind of liked your version better than what he brought up, and
Hell yeah, I
Yeah.
can't, I don't even know what to say.
I know, I was afraid to even bring it up because it's too late now.
Yeah,
Let me
it is.
debrief. Let me give a quick 30-second summary. So I had to move my son back from Denver to Pittsburgh. And this just happened at the time when the deadline was coming to get the artwork for the banner, sit in the back of the booth for this event. And I had something designed. I was asking for feedback, and for some reason, it was just pulling teeth to get feedback. And then I told them that I was really stressed out because I literally am not going to have time to do this now. And I was told from Eric Lawyer, we got this. We'll take it from here, Gene. And I'm thinking, okay, that's confusing. Like, you don't have the artwork. You don't have my original files. Like, how are you going to do this? But I'm like, look, I'm there in Denver packing a U-Haul to drive 24 hours back, which was a nightmare, by the way. And now it's out of my hands. And I hope it works out because I don't know where to go
Yeah,
with that.
and let's just say that, you created a banner with, Richard's input. I mean, we even partly did it on the phone on the fly, together with all the important things that Richard mentioned that he really wanted to focus on. And we came up, you came up with the best possible rendition of that. And then, when Eric said, well, thanks for all your work and we've got this, then they came back a few days later with something that looked completely different. And I don't understand.
So this is,
Right.
for everyone else, this is what I'd come up with. This is for a big banner that sits behind the table, and these side lights actually fold around to the sides. So
Yeah, you
people-
wouldn't be seeing that from the front,
You wouldn't be
right?
seeing this from the front. They'd be curved around the side. You'd walk up and you could see buildings on fire, high rises on fire that didn't collapse. And on the right-hand side, you would see firefighters coming up the high-rise fires. Like a couple of these are 9/11. And then they wanted a logo, and I came up with something to call attention to Papa. And I thought an eagle would be a good protective feature, the wings huddling the logo. And they wanted to go with the sudden building collapse. We picked 3 images of 7 standing, 7 on fire modestly, and then 7 in a pile.
Yeah, and 3 pictures that tell the whole story right there. Like it's all in that one image. Like yeah.
Exactly, and it's the cleanest looking. They
Yes.
came up with some really Mickey Mouse stuff, I thought.
And
Yeah.
this is what they came up. This is the new logo, which is an eagle coming in to kill its prey. It doesn't really sound protective. This is the new thing, which has a lot of text to read.
And it's not even just, I mean, I was telling, and I'll tell you this, I was telling Jean this when I saw it, like that the text on the right is NIST or NFPA right. Like even just rendering that phrase, like it's like you could ask who's right, NIST or the NFPA, but it's just the wording that's so bizarre. And yeah, there's way too much to read. And the thing is, and the fall of 7 is interrupted by all these images of random other fires. And, it just destroys the whole idea of the sequence of the collapse. And
So this is what it would look like. These are what the sides would be that she's talking about. Folds around to so when people come up, they see each side of it. So if I could go back to from Eric. So now we're with, whoops, now we're that. But hey, it is what it is. It'll do.
What worries me is, we spent a lot of money on this, and then he sort of took it over.
yes,
Granted, we were, we gave them the lead, but it's a little cavalier on their part to, just willy-nilly without, I mean, we don't have any time left, so there's not
Right.
much we can do.
And I
I'm
was,
particularly upset because this is the very first time I heard that your banner was not being used, Gene. This is the first time I've seen this, and I've
Well-
been on these calls. Why have I been excluded? I'm a major contributor.
absolutely, you should
I'm
have been.
annoyed as hell.
We don't know, I don't know what there were decisions on what was going to happen with the business cards that we're gonna hand out, the flyers. I'm now out of it, but yeah, we're down to what is the 29th, and it happens what, the 4th through the
6th through the 8th.
6th through the 8th. Yeah, it's next week. Woo.
Next week, yeah. I mean,
Woo!
you're not gonna change
Here's what
anything
it is.
now.
I have to just go with it, I suppose.
It is what it is. That's all
Kind of
good.
pissed me off, actually, but
Yeah, it is.
Who
I'm
changes that?
particularly annoyed that I was left out of this graphic.
I don't know how this got sent out. Is it,
It- I
change-
just-
Who makes that decision and changes that?
there?
Well, yeah, so it was decided on by Eric, Raul, Paul, Cayle from Great Britain, and Richard. Those were the 4 people who had input into this final. Like, they didn't run it by anybody else, Susan. They
Yeah.
didn't run it by, not by Jean, not by Al, not by anyone
Well,
else.
Al is in this email, and that's why he knows about it.
Oh, yes, okay, for the final
Can
one.
you
yeah.
show what it was supposed to look like?
It was supposed to look like,
Or the original design. Yeah.
It was Jane's design.
oh, why is it getting bigger? It's supposed to get smaller. There we go. Just
Yeah.
something clean. These are the side lights. Like, you're walking up, you're seeing firefighters, one on a ladder putting out a high-rise fire, firefighters at the bottom of a high-rise. This is, you can't really see it because it's so small in this, but firefighters in a command post in a high-rise. And then this is a suitcase opened up, which is the basically operator panel in World Trade Center 1, by the way. This is a World Trade Center video of them in the command post in the lobby of World Trade Center 1. Firefighters walking up a staircase, and this another firefighter that was actually, this is World Trade Center. And then on the left were all just high rises that had burned for unbelievable amount of hours, and none of them ever collapsed. And that was decided by everybody. Hey, on the left-hand side, high-rise fires. On the right-hand side, firefighters fighting high-rise fires, and then just a simple story to capture people's attention when they walk up to the thing. But it's
Yeah.
all good. We don't need to harp on it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get through
I
this.
do agree that yours is worlds better. Like, God bless. Why'd they pick that other one?
It is what it is. I don't want to. I love Eric.
It's too late now, anyway.
Yeah. Is what it is. All
So
right.
we have one more meeting on Tuesday. And then we have a meeting at the expo the Sunday before the expo opens up. We're gonna be getting the booth ready and then going out to dinner with everybody. That's the plan anyway. So, unfortunately, as far as the literature and the banner, I mean, there's not much we can do, but as far as our input goes, we still have that one meeting to go. And, if there are any other edits to what we're doing, then that'll be the time to bring it up. But so that's it. We're, it's days away now, so we'll see how it goes.
This is I want to also reiterate the angle that they're coming at. It's ingenious. It's a beautiful idea. We're not coming in flying a 9/11 banner. We're not coming in saying 9/11 is an inside job. What this is a concern between Raul Angulo and Eric Lawyer as firefighters to say, look, our rule books say that we should set up a command post in the lobby of a high rise that's on fire. But since this building 7, we're going to say Solomon building, since the Solomon Brothers building has collapsed suddenly, this new thing from NIST, sudden building collapse, because that can happen, we can't be putting firefighters command posts in the lobby of these buildings anymore. And we're basically asking the NFPA to change their literature. And then we're going to pull NIST to the table and say, look, this needs to be addressed. And that's where they're going to be hung out to dry that, okay, buildings don't fall down suddenly by fire alone.
Either that, or they say, okay, let's not set up our command post on the first floor anymore.
Right, yeah, they could do that, yeah. All right, fine, we're gonna have them outside now.
But they also say shelter in place for the
Oh, yeah.
people in the buildings.
Yeah,
And that's another aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah, I have all those terms. We wrote it down. Where'd it go? Darn it. There's like shelter in place. It doesn't matter. There it is. Shelter or protect in place or defend in place is a United States term. In the UK, they say stay put. So yeah, that would change all those methods of how they operate fighting fires too. So just everybody know right now, if you're ever in a high rise and somebody lights the carpet on fire, you got an hour to get out before the building will probably come down. I say that sarcastically.
Really?
I do have a really great meme that I want to start hanging in high rises and their stair towers. It basically mocks NIST on that too. I'll share that.
It. Yeah.
I had to run for it. Here, somebody talk real quick.
Oh, okay. So, are we, I hate to bring back the subject, but is Ed officially banned or is he on, is he still
No.
part of this group? I'm just.
Ed is not banned, but he was given a warning by Jean saying that
Okay.
he's going to keep detracting, and if he has nothing to
There we go.
contribute, then he's on a short leash, basically.
Good, good, good.
I actually
Yeah.
changed. It used to not say arsonist. I did that with Sharpie. It just said NIST, but I thought, oh, arsonist is pretty good on NIST. But in case of fire, building may collapse at or near free fall. Exit building quickly. NIST, and then it says, yeah, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Just mocking them. It's preposterous. But I made up a whole bunch of these. I'm just gonna, and I was mailing them to people. Director James Olthoff at the National Institute of Tech, Sham Sunder, he got one. These are my bad copies.
Okay.
John Gross. Yes. Somebody said, hey, Gene. Nope. Okay. So yeah, I regularly send them postcards. John Gross. Here's James Olthoff and Shyam Sunder. Oh. Just keep sending them postcards of my memes. And that's when I got the cease and desist from AE, because I would BCC them on some of the emails and they're like, this, I don't know whether you're trying to be funny or if this is just highly unprofessional. Like, yeah, it is. So are they. All right. What else we got? I think. So Boston NFPA, thank you all for that. You guys will get through it. I guess we'll be talking again right before it happens next week. Anything else? New news or things in the AE or I think AE 911 Truth. Al, you talked about it last week. They got shut down on. Let me go back, reiterate this real quick. I'll try to do it fast. Oh, Myles, you got something?
Yeah, if I could, just something to share here. Just if I could take a minute.
Yeah.
So, first thing, love Sandra's jewelry, and I was thinking, you know, how Richard and Cayle might, you know, create merch on their website for people to buy, and the jewelry would be perhaps something that could be a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the next thing was thinking of, you know, how you do your little prayer at 5:20. It's great. And, you know, the person of Jesus is someone who actually is a figure in 3 of the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, he was Jewish, and the Arab world, Muslims also revere him as the highest of the prophets. And he also said that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And so this word truth, you know, is is right there in the middle of that trinity. And to that end, this is where this is a higher battle than even the events of 9/11. It's continuing. Okay, so for example, there's a debate that you can all watch on YouTube. It's called the Monk Debate. It's in Toronto. They have these regularly, and they attract some very high-level thought leaders. And in this very recent Monk Debate, May 13th, they had Radoslaw Sikorski, who's a former defense minister for Poland, as well as a former US ambassador to Russia named Michael McFaul. These two gentlemen were on the affirmative side to a question that was being posed to them for debate, and that is it necessary to consider Russia's security opinions or requirements with respect to what's going on right now? They were in debate against John Mearsheimer, professor of international relations at University of Chicago, and Stephen Walt. Stephen Martin Walt is professor of international affairs at Harvard. And they were saying, yes, Russia's security concerns are legitimate and need to be taken into consideration, and that essentially NATO have provoked the situation we have today. Now, at 1 hour and 15 minutes, you can hear the former US ambassador to Russia make quite an alarming statement, in my opinion. So to begin with, Stephen Walt, who is the Harvard International Affairs professor, he says, in 2021, we kept reiterating that Ukraine was going to join NATO. We kept saying that over and over. And then this Michael McFaul, the former US ambassador to Russia, he interrupts. Did you believe that? Did you believe that? And Stephen Walt says, so are diplomats lying? And Michael McFaul, remember, an ambassador to Russia, says, yes, yes, that's the real world, guys. Come on, that's the real world. So Stephen Walt, again, professor of international affairs, Harvard, says, so our diplomats are lying all the time, yet the Russians are to trust them when they offer them assurances. Question. So why do I bring this up? Well, shouldn't this be shocking that diplomats at the highest level are admitted liars? And how does that relate? So why should we therefore trust other reports and documents from government? Mm-hmm. And then one more one, if I can take another moment. There's another YouTube video, actually on the US Department of State website, YouTube, and it's Secretary of State Pompeo in 2019. He says, Pompeo, that reminds me, you will, and he's talking to an audience of, a mixed audience, I think a lot of students. So Secretary of State Pompeo, that reminds me, you would know this in terms of how you think about problem sets. When I was a cadet at West Point, what's the cadet motto at West Point? Quote, you will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor will you tolerate those who do. Then Pompeo goes on and says, I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. We had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment. When you deal with these countries, not all of them are the same. And this was all to laughter and clapping. So anyway, in summary, this is what we're up against. And it's basically, does truth matter in this world anymore?
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's basically they've given a license to lie and nobody calls them out on it. To link back what you started with, it kind of goes back to Pontius Pilate turning to Jesus and saying, "What is truth?" And I think we're at that point in society again where people are they're confusing everybody on purpose so that everyone will go, well, "What is truth?" And they can get away with these lies and injustice. Thank you for that, Ross.
Yeah, Myles, good timing there. Brings up, kind of dovetails with what I'm about to speak about. So there is a large group of people. This is a little bit tangential to the 9/11 truth movement, but it's same motives, a lot of this, and I can tell you there's more unity in this large group of people about what happened on 9/11 than there is within our groups of 9/11 truth, in terms of the fact that the towers were demolished. You won't find anybody in this larger group of anarchists who have basically, Myles, given up on the government based on things like the example you just mentioned of Pompeo. We've given up quite a long time ago, not just based on 9/11, but on many world events, many false flag events, and have headed in a different direction for quite a while. So it's a large army, a huge army, is bigger than the 9/11 Truth Army. I'm trying to bridge that gap right now and get them to realize that it's still worth revisiting 9/11 in the sense that it's the easiest one to demonstrate, the truth about. In contradiction to the powers that be, in contradiction to the criminals that control the system. So in that vein, I've got this project coming up on GoFundMe, which I was gonna launch this weekend. Gene, I sent you back copied an email, and Sandra, I don't know if you got it, but it's got the link in there. Let me know if you didn't get it. Earlier this week, it was Thursday. But I haven't fully launched that yet. One thing it's gonna do, besides bridging the permaculturists and the anarchists with the 9/11 truth movement, that's my goal anyway, is to bridge those two movements, is I'm going to be able to raise funds, hopefully, for LC if they want to participate in AE, and anybody, any group here, any one of you that's on Alfred, that has a mailing list or a group that they administer. If you share my link to my GoFundMe page, which is basically an art project to rebuild the towers in various scales. It goes into more detail. If you go to the GoFundMe link, you'll understand what it is. But if you share my link for that, and I get a donation from somebody that got that info from you, and they put in a promo code, simply whatever you want it to be, Boston Truth or AE or Gauge or LC, I'll contribute 10% of that particular donation to their group. So I'm going to try and hopefully cooperate with other groups in order to raise money and funds for our respective goals. And again, I would say to you, I know you guys are hopeful to get some movement in the legal realm, and I applaud you for that effort. I think it's an important historic effort that needs to be undertaken, but basically it's not my expertise, it's not my real forte, the legal profession. So I've chosen a different path for where I think the best use of my time is. Mm-hmm. And again, there are a lot of anarchists and a lot of permaculturists, if you know what permaculture is, self-sustaining living, that have given up again on the system and on the corruption of the system. So they are all on board with the 9/11 movement, but they kind of just don't give it the priority that I think it deserves. So I'm trying to bring everybody together, and then people in the 9/11 groups, I don't think they're quite on board with the anarchists of history, which you could research and understand what they're about, and the permaculturists that are around now. I think we need to kind of understand each other and come together and basically triple the size of everybody overnight. In order to, you want to get the legal avenue, pursue that. We don't pursue that as much because we don't have any faith in that system. And if you do pursue that, I would encourage everybody to think, what would you want the punishment to be? I mean, I know you're not the judge and jury, but you might as well be the jury. What kind of punishment are you looking for? Are you looking for the death penalty? Are you looking to prosecute people like Adam and those guys that are basically, if they were in the Nuremberg trials, they would have been on trial for saying, yeah, the bodies, we didn't know that was smelling bodies. We thought we're not doctors. We didn't know that was burning smoke from burning bodies. Well, the Nuremberg trial, they threw the book at those people, the Germans that said that. They said, well, you should have known. It's willfully negligent. So what are your goals with the legal avenue? But anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I'm pursuing to combine these groups and to raise funds for all the groups. And I'll be launching that thing, that GoFundMe. I'll wait to show you guys more on that until after the PAPA thing. I think it's next week that you're doing in Canada with the firefighters. But anyway, and lastly, activism. You know, I've been out 40 miles now in Colorado on that bike with all my t-shirts, which are very effective, by the way. These t-shirts, the one she's wearing, I'm wearing, get a lot of eyes. And right now, the data on that is I've gotten like 40 or 50 comments, and the percentage is 100% positive. I have not had one negative comment yet. Usually I'll get about one in 50. It's still, it is overwhelmingly positive comments. But again, in terms of our activism, a lot of times you get approached by people with different looks. I have a hard time reading what they're going to say. Their look, if it's going to be mean and nasty, or if they're going to be supportive. As I said, 99% of the time it turns out to be supportive, even if the look is mean and nasty. Which again, now it doesn't bother me, because mean and nasty means they take it seriously, at least.
Right.
And then when you do get that one person, I said it last week, that is angry with you, you got to be ready for that, because again, if you start getting in this la world where everybody agrees with you, and then all of a sudden that person comes out of the nowhere and hits you with like something really angry, you need to be able to quickly, obviously, diffuse the situation. You don't want to escalate it in any kind of violent way, but you also want to engage them. You want to make sure you're ready to engage them in the right way to diffuse the situation, but also get them to maybe listen. And then those are the people I've had in my past in my activism. Literally, people break down in tears on the ground after you talk to them. That happened with the 9/11 people down at Ground Zero. We used to go every Saturday. We Are Change, but it became We Are Change in New York City because, We Are Change had some problems. One of the guys ran off with their money. But we've had people come up at Ground Zero, in tears, saying, well, what are you guys, not in tears, saying angry, what are you guys doing? Why are you saying this? So then you begin to engage them, and literally 2 or 3 people I can remember the most powerful reactions that I've encountered. Literally eyes welling up all of a sudden, speechless, they're not saying anything, and they just fall. If a couple people fell to the ground on their knees, sobbing at Ground Zero. And so those are the people that are going to turn around and effectuate some change and be part of the movement in a very proactive way, I think. And so be prepared for that. If you get the negative response, be prepared to diffuse the situation, but yet engage.
Is there any way you could record any of that? Because man, that would be invaluable for other street activists to.
Well, we do have people photographing and people recording. I'm not one of the guys who carries around my cell phone as an anarchist. I'm
Right.
not really into that part of the
I gotcha.
system, but I like to be free from it as much as I can.
Yep.
And the other thing is, when you do engage somebody that personally, none of us really want to be filmed sobbing.
Yeah.
Unless we're faking it, like a lot of the trolls in the 9/11 movement will fake emotions, or like Leslie Stevenson, the structural engineer, the business end of the business of the Twin Tower design, who's crying on 60 Minutes about his flaws of his design of his towers. I mean, that filming that kind of thing it would be good if you could get one, but it's not probably gonna.
I guess not to televise it. I would like it because it would help. For people that haven't been in that situation, it would be great to experience it without being there. Like,
well, you know what? This thing about going to the memorial this summer, I'm not sure they're allowing video recordings. I think you can. I think you can bring a recorder and videotape people at the memorial, but that will happen there. I bet you.
All right.
I mean, if somebody else doesn't break down, I'll break down crying at the memorial. I'm telling you.
What is your GoFundMe? Because I don't have that in the email.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, no, I think you do have the email. What I want to say about the GoFundMe is that if there's any way at all that you can put some more detail into it, because I did go to the link and it was kind of nondescript. I mean, it was rather vague, and I was wondering how it would motivate someone to really get on board and support you if they didn't have a clear vision of what it is that you were intending.
Did
And
you
just
read?
on a-
Yeah, I'm wondering, because it's a little bit hidden there. I'm not sure, did you click the read more? Because there's two little words at the bottom of the picture that says read more.
Well, normally if I see read more, I click on it, so maybe
Yeah.
I missed it.
Well, I wrote about 3 paragraphs.
Oh, then I did miss it, yes.
Okay, yeah, and it will be quite, I'm a little worried about people being able to imagine what I'm talking about. Again, I've had technical issues getting the GoFundMe thing going, which is why it's not fully launched. And as a matter of fact, I'm locked out of my own site right now. And I want to change the cover photo because anyway, it's something that's a little bit difficult to imagine. If you read the paragraphs, I think it's a lot more clear.
Okay, but maybe there's a way to make it, I don't know, if there's a way to,
Well,
if I
know
missed it, I'm worrying that other people may easily miss it also.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm gonna do then is I sent out that link with an email. So what I may do is just include the more detailed description that's kind of buried in the GoFundMe site in the email. And I'm gonna try and personalize it, especially because I think we go with more of this raising funds for everybody, not just my movement, but giving a kickback, basically a promo code kickback. Yeah, the GoFundMe is a little bit tricky. They've got some glitches in their site there, and I'm also just kind of happy so far they're allowing it to happen because they're kind of very status quo traditional. They cut out the Canadian truck drivers. They force them to return their funds. So I'm happy they're allowing it at least, even though it's, again, I try to make it separate from 9/11, just like they're doing with the Papa convention. But yeah, okay. It's a good point, well taken.
On a side note, I just wanted to mention that last year on the anniversary when we were in New York at Ground Zero, most of the time we were very well received by everybody, including firefighters and whatnot, and passersby who engaged in conversation, had a lot to say. There was one incident of a very angry person who may have been a victim's family member who tore at Jean really very intensely. And it wasn't that person who ended up on his knees, it was Jean who ended up on his knees, pleading with the guy to just hear him out. And it was a pretty intense moment. Suddenly he disappeared in the crowd and I thought he got arrested and I was really freaking out. But no, he wasn't. He just, he's got a strong voice and he just tried to anyways, you might want to tell the story a bit better than me, but yeah, that was an intense moment.
Other people were trying to shout him down and I turned around to all the 9/11 truthers and said, stop. I'm like, let me talk to this guy. It was crazy. Yeah. Hey, one last thing before I go to Susan. The person that ran off with I've been trying to fish this story out forever, but the person, I don't want to get into it. The person from We Are Change New York that ran off with the money, the name doesn't happen to rhyme with Duke Mudkowski, does it?
Yeah, okay, Luke, his name is Luke.
Yeah, right. Was that him? Is that who you were referencing?
Yeah, yes, that's whom I think I've understood it to be. But again, I don't have much detail on that.
Yeah, it's like a story that I can't, from what I understand, the group, I'm sorry, I am getting into this real quick. Sorry, Susan, I'll get right to you. If anybody knows anything on this, I've been trying to flesh this story out forever. And as I understand it, one of the firefighters that was lost, his son started New York We Are Change. And they got heavily involved in 9/11 and the money was being raised and Luke became part of this. And then the firefighter's son died. I don't know if it was mysteriously or not. And Luke took over, and then Luke allegedly took the money and ran. And I can't confirm or any of this story, and I really like to get to the bottom of it. But if anybody knows any leads on that,
I've got leads. There's some people that come on 9/11. Remember that group of those people that were almost arrested? I don't know if you were there yet, Gene, on the 20th anniversary. It was early on, and they almost were arrested. That girl and her husband were part of that period of time. And they are
Really?
Yeah, they're vehement. Remember those two? And they actually set up their little display hours later when we got to be able to move down the road a bit. And they didn't come with us. Remember, they stood back and they had their own little display that they kept at a distance against the post office wall. And for some reason, they're kind of very against a lot of the more traditional 9/11 movements like us, based on their experience, I think, with Luke and on the, whatever. They like to be separate. And so they know, and I know those guys, and they come every year. So next time we see them, we should, if you want to get the real nuts and bolts of that, I think it's the same. I've heard the same basic synopsis that you just articulated, but
Okay.
we did get, there are other guys in 9/11 New York City, We Are Change, formed after that, and that's still, they still exist. They still have their boards and everything.
You're
like 20 kids.
talking. Let me find, here they are. This couple, right?
Yeah, that's them. I can't remember her name, but she's nice.
Okay.
And they have a few people that come with them, but that's them.
Right on. Okay.
And that, they got it started in the movement with Luke, and you talk about Luke,
Oh,
they want to kill you when you say Luke, and they say, oh, don't even bring up his name. They know about Luke.
if anybody
So-
goes to Ground Zero, they bring these boards.
Yeah,
And
We Are
it's-
Change New York City, see at the bottom.
Oh, dirt. Thank you, you slick researcher. Yeah,
Well,
it's right there.
I'm not as good as Adam Fitzgerald, but
Right. But they bring these boards, so if you're over there at Ground Zero, and we
now
go.
that proves it. That proves that it was their boards because it has the name on there. Oh, look
Yeah.
who did that. I think that was you.
Yeah, so I bring all the big stuff to draw people in, and then people huddle around their boards and just sit there and read. And oh man, it's so great.
Yeah. And those boards, see, that gets people going in the emotional strain of that woman that collapsed. And the people that do get very emotional, they tend to not want to, they don't want to be confronted, and they don't want to confront you at first. They'd rather just kind of absorb the information.
Right.
And then they do that, and then they come and ask you some questions, and that's when the emotional break happens.
I was trying to end this on a picture of Ross. There we go.
Look
Right
at
on.
that.
Thank you. Susan,
And
you're up.
Fern Tishman.
Susan, you're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Luke is still very vocal, and I like to listen to his podcasts once in a while, so it's very disturbing. But I had heard that he took off with funds, and I am sympathetic because I experienced the same thing with the 9/11 commission.
Citizen.
Mike Gravel.
Mike
Mm.
Ravel took off he founded it and took off with the funds. So I just would like to
Oh,
put out, and I was treasurer, so I know what happened. He didn't steal the funds for personal gain. He just always had this a personal project of his for national initiative that we should do away with the legislature and have people vote on, like a ballot initiative nationwide. So he took the funds and put it in that initiative, which the two don't always mix. People gave for 9/11, they didn't give for a national initiative. So that was, whether you support a national initiative or not, that's beside the point. That's not why people gave. So the cautionary note I would like to put out to everyone: never have a single signatory for your bank account.
thank you.
What is it,
Never, no
Sandra?
matter how trustworthy that person might be or seem to be,
What is the amount of
never
check?
have a single signatory for the bank account. But that's not why I raised my hand. I just wanted to ask Ross more detail on the permaculturist and what evidence he has that they support 9/11 truth. I'd like to delve into that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I'm involved with all those people. Some of them are just pure permaculturists that don't have much of a political opinion.
Right.
And then there are others that are very much on the anarchy side, where they definitely have a political opinion, and that is to be out of the system and use alternative currencies, etc. So there's a lot of those people, the conscious resistance, Derek Bros, well, our famous James Corbett is one of them, James Corbett. And there's a variety of other groups, Ecoversity, there's all over the YouTube. If you search permaculture, you'll see guys, they don't like to mention 9/11 Truth on their podcasts because they're trying to get, YouTube to support them and give them lots of coverage. But they do cheek and mouth, tongue in cheek, refer to the crimes of the society, and the big crimes, and they do refer to it by just in general, but they don't like to specifically say 9/11 on air. But if you get to know these people, and last night I was down, I've met a lot of new people in the last couple of days that are in the permaculture. They have their own self-sustaining farms, and I've never run across any one of those people in those groups that has ever said they don't understand that or thinks that there's something to the official story. They all believe it was a false flag and that the towers were demolished, and that you don't get into more. I don't get into more detail than that. That's all I need to know in terms of what my goals are. But they all support that more so than, again, even in our 9/11 group, in terms of the fact of the demolition. They all see the demolition. They believe the videos. They believe the science, and they're not interested in official narratives in general. So maybe they're not so open-minded. Maybe they're a little bit too closed-minded about it. But they are on our side. And I know a variety of other groups, if you're interested in knowing who those people are. But again, if I don't bring up the 9/11 too much with them, except for now I am, because of my GoFundMe, because it's about the towers. I'm trying to keep it separate, but I see the towers. I think every day that passes by, I really believe that one of the reasons, the motivation for bringing the towers down, was because New York City could have become a very independent metropolis, highly independent of any government outside support. In other words, they don't need the farms coming in. They don't need the infrastructure for supply chain. They don't need the military to protect the supply chain, to get food into the cities, to get water into the city. The Twin Towers would have been great. They weren't a great office space because you don't want to be stuck in that building all day long with all those floors without that many windows. But they're perfect for vertical gardens and for environmental restoration projects. And I think they would have easily been adaptively reused and or modified to have that purpose, with the elevator system they had, everything. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden you got Twin Towers feeding the entire metropolis of New York City, and maybe even more having more purpose for supporting nature and building on nature, not to destroy nature or occupy territory of nature like the cities have done and become wastelands, and continually are progressively becoming more and more wasteland, more dependent on the outside farming agriculture. So the permaculturists are independent. They're not part of the industrialized agriculture system. They don't believe in that. We don't believe that they're administering right ways to handle soil as the primary concern, is the way they treat soils. And again, the towers, that form factor, that vertical form factor, the box turns out to be the best way to go vertical. And for example, the Twin Towers, each floor had an acre of open floor area, 1 acre. So you had 110 acres in one tower and another 110 in the other. It's 220 acres of just 12-foot floor slabs. And imagine if you had shelving in there, you're talking a lot of acreage. And the elevators, again, as I said, that works really well. So the idea that you're going to have to go vertical and not in the inefficient ways. Again, to this day, the towers are the largest development that ever has been built on the planet. And not talking about both towers. I'm talking about just one of those towers had more usable square footage than any other building that's been built so far, and in the old school kind of structure. So I think we'll be going back to that, and whether or not they want to pay homage to the towers, I think they will, because they're inextricably linked in my mind. The collapse of the towers and the destruction of nature, they're inextricably linked by the same forces, same people, same system behind it, the same lies behind it. They often destroy nature, and it starts with a lie. Oh, we're going to protect this. We're going to do that. It's going to be progress. And John Muir famously in the Hetch Hetchy Dam back years ago, it's like, oh yeah, you make a dam, you can get LA going, but what are you going to do to the nature? So destruction of nature is inextricably linked with destruction of the two best towers we had. And what that did to the American psyche, we're still all seeing what that's done to the American psyche. And so, and the world. So anyway, I could give you more names if you wanted and contacts about the permacultures that are on board with us, but.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
And yeah, I'll put you on the link for all this. I don't think I even included Alfred yet, but I will include you too, obviously, with all that.
I'm putting my email in the chat.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Cayle, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to add, we are changed. Sorry, I'm going back a bit. But were they tied in with a death or murder of one of the activists at I think it was a son of one of the victims' families?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I'm hiking.
Yeah, I'm a little foggy on that. It was the firefighter's son that I understand it started New York.
Yeah.
We are changed. And he passed away, but I don't know anything more than that.
There was something fishy with that, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, as people hear more, let us know. Come back, report. Thank you. What else we got? So, WarRoom, when we come in, we'll tackle the news. I'd like to know frontline items. Like what's happening in legal rounds. I think that's important strategy for the WarRoom. And then obviously activism, what we're doing, like NFPA, things that we as street activists can do things in our own cities, whether doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be, I know Adam Fitzgerald wants to keep ripping on me about stickers and stuff like that, but as small as an item as you're doing in your own hometown, or if you have questions or ideas or whatever, just to get people to bring awareness to it, I think, whatever your thing is, or if like Mike Zarzano, he's doing a lot of litigation there down in Florida, pushing certain things at the military level. Whatever it is, just do you. You don't have to down anybody else for what they do. Just do you. And if you need help or want to inspire some of us and share what you do, that's what this is, I think. If anybody has any other ideas for the WarRoom, like when you see my background here, this is from the movie War Games with what was his name? Matthew Broderick. Yeah, thank you. When you see a WarRoom like this, the videos up on the wall of where the battles are being fought and how to best manage the manpower and things like that. We're not doing that. We're not dictating where people should be and do, but we can at least come back here and report to each other on, again, what news items are happening, what the frontline issues are, and how we as activists can better do what we're doing.
And not just that, I mean, we're here to motivate each other and inspire each other and, bounce ideas off of each other, Yeah. Somebody might be doing something that I never thought of doing, and maybe I might want to run with that. And
Yep.
And also your site really should become the site where we put up all the material that people can use.
Yeah.
Stickers, business cards, letters to, any kind of letter to, whether it's to firefighters or Hollywood stars or Congress people, we should make all of that available so that make it a resource for anyone who, needs material and doesn't know where to get it and doesn't want to create their own, basically.
It's something I got to work on, getting my
Yeah.
site.
Add it to your list
Yes.
of never-ending to-dos.
If you
So we
guys
can put our
don't
hands on
mind,
it.
we'll go around the room. Oh, Susan, what do you got?
Yeah.
Since you wanted to know updates on what we're doing here, the latest with 9/11 synthesis, we had a really good Zoom call with Kingsley Rosario Fernandez, who's in India. And he knows Richard Gage, and his comes from a long line of family government. What kind of government?
It's customs at the.
Customs in
Mumbai, yeah.
Indian customs officials. He's an artist, very creative, just like Eugene, and it was a very productive Zoom call.
Nice. I shoot from the hip, and Lawrence, I love you, but I'm gonna speak my mind here. I'm not down with the nuclear thing, but and I heard what was said on the call last week. I don't know what you plan on doing at the NFP conference, but I think anything might create havoc for everybody else, even if it's not with their group. But I really would love to see Lawrence continue with geologists and geotechnical engineers, because it really taking that evidence with the rock formations and everything, the subground, the subsidence, firefighters really don't have any play in that. It's really all geotechnical professionals. And I guess that's all I want to say. And I love you.
And engineers as well. Yeah, but I'm not on mute. Good. But we're working on that. But so many geologists just don't want to get into any of this stuff.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah, which you can understand that.
Mhm. Same thing with firefighters trying to get National Fire Protection Association members to.
And engineers and all of them.
Who was that just said?
Well,
Oh,
engineers, we cracked the nut with that. We got a bunch of engineers as petition signers.
well, as
Yeah.
Ed put it last week,
Yeah.
he said, "Oh, if that 7 was such a big deal, then you should have 300,000 architects and engineers behind that." Well,
I think he said 1.7 million, but
whatever. It's like
Kind
This
of
is the-
along those lines, we've been talking about who's a troll, who's not a troll, who should we allow to speak, and I think the key for me on allowing naysayers to speak is when they either monopolize the conversation or they just put the brakes on everything.
mhm.
That's to me when you start to say, okay, you're not allowed anymore.
To go back on the issue, why we're not having, that's a logical fallacy, by the way. Argument ad populum, I believe it's called, appeal to a popular opinion. But in effect, and I've heard it, I'm not going to articulate this poorly, but you have these people who build their entire livelihoods on the system, and you're asking them to kill the system that made them, gave them their jobs, gave them their livelihoods. They're not gonna all jump on the bandwagon there. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And their social status within that structure. I mean, most of them have friends and acquaintances in those circles. So to take a stand almost seems like a betrayal to them, to those people.
Mhm.
Most people don't want to be thought of as fringe by their peers.
Right.
And they worked so hard and spent so much money to get those letters behind their name. And I don't want to lose those letters.
Yeah.
But all right, around the room for everybody. Ross first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, what everybody just said is exactly correct. And I'll bring a specific example, which is Richard Gage has even been guilty of that same type of behavior. I don't mean to criticize him too strongly here, but I will point out that in 2018, the convention for the American Institute of Architects was held in Manhattan in New York City, 2018, just 2 years before the 20th anniversary, 2.5 years. And so I was trying to coordinate with him and architects and engineers to get them, because they always would go to the AIA conventions. And, they always would win floor votes is to bring World Trade Center 7, all their issues to the table with the architects and AIA, American Institute of Architects, to the professionals. So they got their signatures in those other conventions. They had their 300 signatures they needed to get put to a vote. And when the time came to have it put to a vote, the leadership of the AIA, and this is of course to be predicted, the leadership of the AIA said, well, you've got to prove that these signatures are valid. And they didn't make them do that with all the other people that were at the convention. It was based on trust, but architects and engineers needed to have proof, which meant driver's licenses, et cetera. And so they scrambled to try to get the proof that all these signatures were legitimate. Bottom line is the leadership of the AIA said, well, you haven't proven it, so we got to move on. You don't have time, you've run out of time. We're not going to vote on it. So the next convention is in Manhattan, 2018, a very perfect opportunity to make a big stink there. And Richard just totally caved in. He said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. We're getting funding. They were getting funding to have a small class for AIA people to understand building technology for the purposes of showing the truth. But he was so worried about losing his funding for that class within the AIA. They said, no, we're not going to show, we're not going to do anything. Please don't even mention us, that we're part of anything you're doing. And I said, well, I won't. But I thought that was quite a telling example of how you got to fit within your, discipline of your your systemic discipline, whatever it might be. And whether it's engineer or architect or demolition expert or forensic scientist. But anyway, what happened 2 months later, he didn't show up to that convention. They didn't show up. I was there alone at Javits Center.
Oh, wow.
Pretty disappointed, because I'm telling you, that was an opportunity to get people to focus, architects to focus on the Trade Center down the street. And anyway, he lost his funding for that class. He lost that class anyway in 2 months. So see, that tells you, if you trust that system and you try and play their game, their ball game, you're not going to win, and you're going to get killed anyway. So these architects, they do need to come forth, and they can't just hide and play a part of the system. It's going to catch up to everybody, I think. So, but that happened with Richard, and so it's an example of how much pressure there is on us to conform.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Unless anything, does anybody else have anything? I was just going to go around the horn and call it an early one this evening, if you don't mind.
Well, Gene, I was hoping at some point we should get Dan Hanley on this. I don't know, for those of you who don't know who he is, but
he would definitely come on.
He would be great.
He would, but what was the thing for him?
Oh, he's over in Pakistan, so
it's like between 3 and 5 a.m. or something when he would do the show.
Yeah, I know.
But he would do it. I mean, he did it once. He would. I'm sure he would do it again.
And secondly, I just want to give everybody a heads up that hopefully we'll have the convention on our website, have it posted in case people want to see, or listen in on what went on. So that should be probably within a week and a half to 2 weeks after that we would have that in there.
For those that don't know, Boston911truth.org. Thanks, Al. Back to Ross and then Myles.
Sorry, I forgot my hand. I should have put it down.
Then Myles, you're up, brother.
Okay, thanks. Well, one of the things I'm working on is I'm in Toastmasters, and one of the things I've learned relates to what the previous gentleman, about my mind is not very good, just was saying about, the system is inadequate. And indeed, I've learned, okay, Toastmasters can only handle so much, the people that come to these meetings, but they have an organization or they have a program called Pathways. And so you can, I chose the visionary communication pathway. I don't want to take a lot of time, but what I wanted to just say is I gave a speech. I kept it circumspect. I said, okay, I'm on this, I've chosen this pathway, and it's about truth and reconciliation. And I said, and this is my evaluation, the evaluator provided me. He said, you requested a major call to action. Again, I was circumspect about it. And I said, he quotes me, will you join me in my quest? And that I also said that it's controversial. Not everyone will be happy, but it's an important project. So I'm working on that. He said, fantastic, awesome, and purposeful. We all should hear this speech. So I will continue to update you on how that's working out. Finally, just quick, Richard, I think, gave us a teaser. You're going to tell us about what's happening with the community hub on his website, are you, Gene? Because
Yeah.
I've used it and I don't get any feedback from anybody.
That's in my court, and I kind of dropped the ball there a little bit. I'll let you know. The last part of the hub is adding a groups functionality, and I'm having to get back into coding, and
Okay.
it just is become a nightmare.
Sure.
And I
All
kind of
right.
let it go.
But it's still working though,
Oh
right?
yeah,
The
the individual part works perfectly. And
right. I mean, there's no feedback to get, Myles. It's just a matter
I shared something and it was just crickets. I thought, well, maybe somebody would respond, but so I didn't know whether it never, what happens when I use the functionality there? It's just emailing people, correct? Is that what it does?
It's just a directory. That's its sole purpose, was just to be a directory to be able to get a hold of other people.
Okay.
So
Anyway, I
if you're,
won't take it personally. I used it. I copied a bunch of people saying, hey, you wanted to look at this. I can't even remember what I shared. I thought, well, maybe the site's not working, but.
well, it's not really a social media platform per se. It's just a matter of knowing where everybody is. And let's say you were, organizing a trip to go down to whatever, LA.
Okay.
Then you could pull up the map and say, okay, who's in LA or who's along my route?
I see.
And maybe combine efforts or reach out, or if you know that something's happening in a city, reach out to those people and say, hey, can you check this out? Or
Okay.
it's just a matter of connecting, because we're all over the map, and it's good to know,
Sure.
who's
I think I met-
who's in your area code.
I think I met most of you on Facebook, but it was like, if Facebook finally dies, which I hope it does someday. If it does, I still want to be able to get a hold of you guys, and it would be nice to have a directory. So it was like, let's have an online directory, and that was the hopes.
Okay, great. Thank
If you haven't signed up yet, please do. Anybody on this call. I mean, Richard hasn't been promoting it per se. I don't know if he's waiting for the community hub to actually be functional for the groups.
Yes.
But once Richard starts promoting it, I think it could be an invaluable tool,
Right.
For all of us to connect and find each other.
I'm actually thinking of approaching the creators of the code that run this, ultimate member, and asking them, I'll pay them to do it so that they could retrofit it, if that's even the right word. Richard's site, the site that I have, and 9/11 Tap's site, so that we could so we could replicate it on all three sites. It being the same data, just replicated across three sites would be my hope, so that, and anybody else that wanted to put it on their site, just make it an easy thing that they could add, and people could add their names, and the directory is copied, replicated amongst all sites. So
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah.
that would be, because we are the 9/11 Truth Movement. Nobody owns it. nobody can declare for all of it what it is and what it isn't, and just
Nobody's the president of it.
nobody's the president, right?
No,
We,
no shareholders.
yep. We all just have this passion. Go ahead, Ross is gonna say something,
Oh, I thought the movement was dead, though.
right? No, it's
Alive and
not.
kicking.
Yep. All right, around the horn, everybody, 30 seconds. Al, you're up first. Got anything for the group?
Yeah, I kind of went over everything I had. I'm good right now, I think.
Thank you. Susan? You're
Same
muted.
here, same here. I think I covered everything.
Thank you. Has Lawrence got anything napping back there?
You're on.
Kablooey!
All right. Thank you, Lawrence. Myles?
Yeah, oh, great. Nice to meet Ross. I didn't have the screen open such that I could see your name, but it's really great to see you, Ross.
Right
And good luck.
Thanks, Miles. I liked what you had to say. Perfect segue for me. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
That's
Super.
another good segue because you're the next person on the Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, and also again, it's perfect. It's a shame he had to bring up that horrible quote of Pompeo, but he actually said that stuff. And I don't think we've mentioned it yet, but you know how Bush admitted that, or he said at the news conference last week that, oh, this Russian leader, some leader unilaterally decides to invade a country.
Yeah.
You saw that. He actually did that, and he actually slipped and said Iraq, and then he goes, I mean, Ukraine.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody saw that, but that.
Yeah, I think everybody saw that.
Yeah.
I got to replay it by the end of this, but go ahead.
Well, that's, I just want to say thanks, Miles, for your contribution on that. And because that was I've tried to remember that one too. That was one of the most egregious examples of the criminality in your face. They don't even hide it anymore. It's just,
Right.
you can be a criminal right on the mainstream news,
Yep.
you know, and you'll get away with it, you know.
Thank you. Thank you, Ross. Cayle, anything for the group? Beautiful view, by the way, brother.
I just want to say I just climbed this mountain with you guys,
Right on.
and it's no different than trying to get the truth out there.
Awesome.
It's hard.
That's an amazing microphone. There's no wind. It's a
I know.
perfectly clear voice. That's awesome.
Actually, it's a nice little cool breeze right now, but I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for, you know, helping to fight for our children's future.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it again, but this is how important it is. I'll hike with you guys.
Right.
Well,
Thank
and,
you.
All right, aloha.
and honestly,
Aloha.
Cayle,
Yeah.
thanks for taking us along everywhere, because most people
Right? I'm
use
like,
it as an excuse and say, well, no, you know what, I can't join the call because I gotta bring my kids here, I gotta go hike, and you're just like, well, screw that, I'm just taking
no.
it with me, so
I just love it.
It's that important. I'll tell you that much. I don't want
Right
to
on.
miss
appreciate that.
anything.
Awesome.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Aloha.
Thank you. Matt, you're up. Good to
Matt
see
just
you.
joined in like 5 minutes ago.
I know.
I'm gonna do the end.
Yeah, late as usual. I just wanted to hear some fellow truther folks hopped in to listen in. I've had to revamp the Truth Booth program, and I'll be ready next week if I can stop in.
Excellent. Yes, I would enjoy that.
Just make it 2 hours earlier.
Yeah, that's it. 5
Will
o'clock
do.
Eastern Standard. Yep. Thank you, Matt, for coming in. Sean?
I just want to say that the truth movement isn't dead. I know as time goes by, it seems like, you know, we're not gaining any traction, but in my opinion, it's inevitable that the truth will come out. As long as we all hold on to hope, it's going to happen.
Thank you, Sean. Mike Zarzano.
Hey, I just want to say that I love these brainstorming sessions, and I think laser focus on the path of least resistance, Building 7 and Sarasota, 28 pages.
Right on. Thank you, Mike.
You
And
bet.
Trina, the other Florida person. I think I saw you try to talk. Can you hear us, Trina? If you can hear us, we can't hear you. All right. If I'm going to play this George Bush thing, it's 38 seconds long. If you come back, just start talking. Let me share my screen. Oh, you there, Trina?
Yep, my earbud wasn't all the way in.
There we go.
Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to thank you and appreciate you letting me tag along tonight. It was great to be here and appreciate your call very much. Thank you for keeping at it. And I think that's what we all need to do. I was encouraged when I heard you talk about also letting us put the community hub on the on our TAP website. Once we launch the new site, it would be great to include that. Then any new people joining along or finding us would have access to it, and we can help grow that list. So encouraged by that, and just thank you all for having me here.
Thank you, Trina.
Everybody have a great night. My love to all of you.
Thank you. I'm going to end it here with George Paul Gaffs. This is fantastic. This was so beautiful. Here we go.
In contrast,
Can you hear it?
Russian elections are rigged.
Not very well. It's very low.
Are
Oh,
imprisoned
is it
or otherwise
doing me dirty again?
from participating in the electoral process.
Better?
Yes.
The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Not funny.
Did you guys catch, though, what he said under his breath? This
Iraq
is so.
too.
He said Iraq too.
I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Iraq too. Anyway.
Oh,
He was
I
like,
didn't see
oh,
that.
he double gaffed it.
Oh,
He not only screwed up, but then he just confirmed that he's Iraq too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't see that before. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah,
Skip over that
wow.
one last time. This is
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
I mean, of Ukraine.
I gotta do that one last time.
Justified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine.
What a chowder.
Anyway.
In Iraq too. Unbelievable. Yeah. That will live down forever. He will never live that one down.
But he says, Alfred, you spoke over that last part and he addresses it again. He says, oh, but yes, Iraq too. He says it twice.
Watch.
Iraq. Anyway.
Iraq too. Yeah.
75.
No, he's just an idiot.
At least he's honest now.
Right. Yeah. Hey.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Freud. Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great evening and a great week. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Yeah.
you.